Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. This, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, is going to be my January wrap-up. So first we'll talk about the stats, and I'll pull up a thing here in a few moments, hence why I'm kind of to this side. And then we'll talk about the books, and this will be kind of quick pace because I have to leave the house in about 25 minutes, and I wanted to get this filmed before I leave. So it's going to be kind of rapid fire of just, here's the books, here's the book, what I thought, what it's about, all that. And there is only 11 books, so this shouldn't take that long. Are those my famous last words? Maybe. So yeah, but I will pop up the graphic here. I will be looking down here at my laptop because I have all the stats so I say the right thing. So I read 11 books, which totaled to 4,425 pages. My average star rating is a 4.6, which is the highest star rating I have ever had, and you will find out why in a bit. I read 7 ebooks, 3 mixed, which means audiobook, ebook, or audiobook and physical book, or physical book and ebook, just like mixed formats, and 1 physical. For the genres, I read 1 contemporary, 3 dark romance, 1 erotic, 4 fantasy, and 2 romance. And then I read 2 adult, 5 new adult, and 4 young adult. And so let's just get into the books. So the first book I read this year, that's weird to say, is The Dare by Harley Laroe. This is a erotic novella where we are following Jess, who she goes to this party. She ends up basically playing a game of truth or drink with a guy that she used to bully in high school. She's now in college. But it ends up turning into a night of a lot of fun, and it is a erotic dark romance, and I give it 5 stars. This was a reread for me. I read this in, I think, originally May of 2021. That sounds right. Loved it, and so I did a reread now for what you will see in just a few minutes here. You will understand why I did this reread, but I absolutely loved it. So let's move on. And then I think this is the fastest I've ever DNF'd a book in the year. I DNF'd Hooked by Emily McIntyre. I think I DNF'd this 5 or 6 days into the year, which is insane. This is basically, it's kind of a Peter Pan reimagining, but it's dark romance. And I think I read the first 100-ish pages, right, 99. 100 is basically 99 in my brain. So I'll say about 100, which was about 30%, maybe 25 to 30%, somewhere in there. And I can't describe what it's about because nothing fucking happened besides the 2 main characters meeting. And that's pretty much it. I did not like either of the characters. I did not like the interactions they had. The only thing that I kind of liked was one of the settings of the bar. That was kind of nice. But both of the characters felt really bland. And the thing is, this is a book that I was really looking forward to reading. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna love it. I love retellings. I love dark romance. This is gonna be amazing. I hated it from chapter 2 or 3, but I pushed through because I was like, you know what, maybe it might get better, No, originally I read this for Mary Bookmas, and so my friend Clint was reading it because he got to interview the author, and he was like, if I didn't have to interview the author, I would have DNF'd this. Basically everything I was hearing from him was a warning sign to not continue, and I'm so glad that I didn't continue it because I felt like it would have put me in a huge reading slump, and I already was in kind of a small slump in January. I still read, but I just didn't read as much, or I'd go a few days sometimes in between reading or only read like 20-30 pages a day. So I'm honestly surprised that I got this much read. The next book I read is Defend the Dawn by Bridget Kemmerer. I originally had the physical book through my library, but my hold was up and I had to return it before I could make this video. But this is a young adult fantasy. I gave it 4 stars. This is the sequel to Defy the Night, which basically we are following the kingdom of Kandala? Is that the kingdom? How it's pronounced? And basically there's this illness that has been going around, and the only cure is this like I think it's moonflower elixir, and it's like only really easily able to be gotten by the rich. But we have Tessa, who is an apothecary, who she kind of steals the moonflower and makes this elixir for the poor. And then we are also following Prince Coric, who he is like the king's justice. His older brother Harriston is the king, and you kind of are following Tessa and Coric, and as their plot lines intertwine, and then going into Defend the Dawn, we are continuing that story as a random ship has entered the kingdom, and everyone's curious of who they are, why they're here, and it all links back to like the moonflower, and that's not really that spoilery. But I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first book. The first book I gave 5 stars. The second book I gave 4 stars. But it is really good. But the ending was amazing. It had me almost falling out of my chair going, I need the next book, like the day I finished the book. And this is a book that I literally finished at like 1 a.m. because I was like, I just need to finish it. The next 2 books I'm going to talk about together because they are in the same series, and that is Losers Part 1 and Part 2 by Harley Laroux. These are basically like The Dare, which I mentioned earlier, is kind of almost a prequel to these, and Losers is basically a dark romance, which it's been about 3.5 years since The Dare, and Jess has moved back from college to like the town she grew up in for reasons, and she ends up stumbling upon the Losers, which consists of the guys that she hooked up with in The Dare, and it is a dark polyamorous bisexual romance, meaning that the guys do have relationships with each other, and I love that because I just love the dynamics. And while it's dark, it's more of dark as in like there is just a bit heavy content and a couple triggers, and the kink list is huge. I couldn't even recite half of it off the top of my head, but it honestly, I need physical copies of these like yesterday. I literally want to buy them so bad, but I don't have the money to do so, and as soon as I do have the money, I will be buying them. Favorite books of the year so far already. Went immediately on to my top 5 romances. I love it so much. I again just love the dynamics of the characters and just the way that the characters shouldn't be together. Like even some of the guys, you're sitting there like, why are you together? But I love it. And I just love the different dynamics, both in the like relationships and more sexual dynamics, down to just down to the dynamics of friendship. It just explores that so much, and I love it. I love it so much. And the next 2 books I will also be talking with together because they're book 1 and book 2 in a series, and that is Legendborn and Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. I reread Legendborn so that I could read Bloodmarked, and I also listened to the audiobooks of these, so I like read them audiobook and physical book. But Legendborn, basically we are following 16-year-old Brie Matthews as she ends up being accepted into this like early college program, which basically is like high school students can take classes at this college. And she goes there, and on her first night she ends up stumbling upon people that can use magic, and she wants to learn a bit more about them. So she ends up meeting this boy named Nick who knows about this magic and introduces her to the world of the magic, or the Order, which the Order is basically the descendants of King Arthur and like his knights, and basically, yeah, there's also like demons that the Order face off with, and basically Bree ends up trying to take part in these challenges to become like an official member of the Order. So yeah, and then you are following that storyline into Bloodmarked as things have happened, and I can't say much about this. I gave this 5 stars. I absolutely love this book so much. And then I gave this book 4.5 because the pacing in at certain points felt either too slow or too rushed, and there also was a couple moments that I was like, these characters just don't feel 100% right, but I can't pinpoint what's wrong. In this book, you definitely are learning more about the Order as a whole, versus in Legendborn, you're learning more about the chapter of the Order that is at this school. And so that kind of did get a little bit confusing at times, of just like, well, wait, what does this person do? Why is this person important? Why do we like this person? Why don't we like this person? And this is also the case of ending. I need book 3 like how about tomorrow, please and thank you. I just love it. I do love it though, and so I gave it 4.5. I love these so much, and I need the next book like now, please and thank you. The next book I read is Tears in the Water by Margarita Scilia. I'm probably pronouncing that name entirely incorrectly, and I'm so sorry if the author for some random reason is watching this and hears me mispronounce your name. I am so sorry. But this is a like new adult contemporary, almost like a slice of life, where we are following Alex as they are going to I think it's their second year of university, and they are a swimmer, so they go to like a university that's just like specifically for sports, and basically you're kind of following Alex as she's dealing with anxiety and meeting this boy named Tate, who is on the volleyball team, and kind of having the friend group grow, and just it's literally just like a slice of life. In this book, Alex does deal with anxiety, and also is struggling with their gender identity, and so that was very, I don't want to say interesting to read about, but I overall really enjoyed this book. I really saw a lot of myself in Alex, especially with the anxiety of like what they were feeling. I feel all of the time, and so I was like, oh, I've never felt so much like a character in my life. I literally think I cried because of how much there was like a specific scene with anxiety being portrayed, and I'm like, oh, I felt that so many times, and I kind of started crying because I was like, I've never seen this in a book before. I love this. I gave this 5 stars. It, like, I want to say it's possibly going to be on my favorite list, like my favorite books of the year, but it's obviously too early to say. We still have another 11 months of books to read, but it's definitely one that I could see being on my top list because I loved it so much. The next book is Twisted Games by Anna Huang. This is the second book in the Twisted series, which are basically like a series of interconnected standalone. In this, basically, we are following Bridget, who is a princess, and Reese, who is her bodyguard, and they don't like each other. It's strictly like a business relationship, but then they get closer and those lines kind of blur. And then also we're dealing with the entire storyline of Bridget ending up having to become queen and that whole thing. This I gave 4.5. I did really enjoy it. There were just a couple things that kind of just felt off that made it so I couldn't give it 5 stars. Overall, I liked it. I loved it way more than I did Twisted Love, which is the first book in the series. And then I read Olympic Enemies by Rebecca J. Caffrey. This book does not come out until, is it the 6th of February? I did art through NetGalley, and this I gave 4 stars. This basically, we are following Oliver and Lucas, and they are on like Team Great Britain for gymnastics for the 2024 Paris Olympics. They haven't really gotten along. They kind of just have that relationship of, we're on the same team, we have to make this work. But when they end up being roommates while they're at the Olympics, they realize maybe they don't hate each other as much as they thought they did. And this, as I said, I gave 4 stars. It was good, although I did teeter between a 3.5 and a 4 because the characters did feel a bit weak in some spots, and overall it very much was a basic plot with basic writing. But the part that made me decide to give it a 4 is because the characters, even though this was only like a under 300 pages book, it did manage to give the characters a believable backstory, which sometimes you don't see in books where it's like, oh yeah, it briefly mentions the characters' backstories, but in this it really is good, and I did enjoy those characters' backstories. And then also I did really enjoy some of the side characters, so that's why I kind of ultimately decided to give it a 4, although that rating might kind of teeter depending on how I feel in a couple months once it's not fresh in my mind. And then the final book I read in January was Crave by Tracy Wolff, which I read for the Crave Along, which I am a co-host for. I will leave that linked in the description and the iCard. I think it's this side. But basically, this is the first book in the Crave series where we follow Grace Foster, who after her parents die in a car accident, she ends up having to attend this boarding school in Alaska, ran by her uncle, and I just got a message. And little does Grace know that this is actually a boarding school for the paranormal. And Grace goes there, learns all this, and it's so much more than that. This I gave a 4.5. I will also link the live show that we did up in the iCard and the description that we did on Alicia from Books and Things with Alicia's channel. You definitely should go check that out. It's about an hour and 45 minutes of us just talking about Crave. So I'm not really going to say much about this because all my thoughts are pretty much in that live show. But brief overview is I did enjoy it. And so yeah. And yeah, so those are the books that I read in January. Let me know what is one book that you read in January, or I guess your favorite book you read in January. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!